But now I've criticized Trump. That's right, folks. I'm an enlightened centrist. I take shots at both political parties because that's what being an independent is all about. Being an independent thinker, an independent centrist, means that you hold no opinions and you criticize both sides equally. I'm, of course, joking. This is a joke. I'm going to criticize Elissa Slotkin in particular because she had an absolutely disastrous response to Donald Trump's speech where she talked about fucking Ronald Reagan and the Cold War. I don't give a flying fuck about Ronald Reagan. He can kiss my fucking ass. Ronald Reagan was a demon. He was an absolutely terrible president. And the fact that you would invoke him by saying, I'm happy that Ronald Reagan was president during the Cold War because Donald Trump would have lost it for us. You are so wildly out of touch. You have no fucking interest in any of the actually insidious things that Republicans are doing.
Freshman Senator Elissa Slotkin will deliver the Democratic response to President Trump's address to the joint session of Congress. Senator Chuck Schumer calling her a rising star in the party. At age 48, she became the youngest Democratic woman elected to the Senate. She previously served in the House. Before that, she served as a CIA analyst in Iraq. Now, her task tonight delivering a solid Democratic message, of course.
Literally a fucking Fed. And this is who the Democrats trotted out to give their rebuttal to Donald Trump. A fucking former CIA agent. They really just fuck over Bernie every possible chance they get. And I'm glad that Bernie did his own live stream knowing that the Democrats wouldn't pick him to do it, even though they damn well should have.
If they hope to proclaim the House and the Senate. Let's listen.
Hi, everyone. I'm Elissa Slotkin. I'm honored to have the opportunity to speak tonight. It's late, so I promise to be a lot shorter than what you just watched. I won't take it personally if you've never heard of me. I'm the new senator from the great state of Michigan, where I grew up. I've been in public service my entire life because I happened to be in New York City on 9/11 when the Twin Towers came down. Before the smoke cleared, I knew I wanted to make a life in national security. I was recruited by the CIA and did 3 tours in Iraq alongside the military. In between, I worked at the White House under President Bush and President Obama, 2 very different leaders who both believed that America is exceptional. You can find that same sense of patriotism here.
2 very different leaders, except when it came to bombing children in the Middle East.
In Wyandotte, Michigan, where I'm speaking from tonight. It's a working class town just south of Detroit. President Trump and I both won here in November. It might not seem like it, but plenty of places like this still exist across the United States. Places where people believe that if you work hard and play by the rules, you should do well and your kids should do better. It reminds me of how I grew up. My dad was a lifelong Republican, my mom a lifelong Democrat. But it was never a big deal because we had shared values that were bigger than any one party. We just went through another fraught election season. Americans
You're talking about, I don't know what occupations her parents had, but you're discussing class consciousness. Working class people know that regardless of your political affiliation, there are certain things that would just make your life better, right? Unions, for example, are one of those issues where Democrats, independents, conservatives come together, and the majority of them, or maybe the plurality, I don't want to say the majority, but they'll be like, yeah, unions are good because guess what? It gets people better wages, it gives people good benefits, it gives people protection from their employers. But you are an establishment Democrat. You, in all likelihood, do not advocate for the same things as your working class constituents, or at least if you were pushed to advocate for them, you probably would just institute a watered down version of it. Now, I don't know Elissa Slotkin's position on every issue, but just judging, I'm judging a book by its cover. I don't care. I'm shallow, I'm vain, I'm superficial. Suck my dick. I don't give a fuck. There are other people who are more effective at communicating class consciousness.
clear that prices are too high and that the government needs to be more responsive to their needs. America wants change, but there's a responsible way to make change and a reckless way. And we can make that change without forgetting who we are as a country and as a democracy. So that's what I'm going to lay out tonight. Because whether you're from Wyandotte or Wichita, most Americans share three core beliefs: that the middle class is the engine of our country, that strong national security protects us from harm, and that our democracy, no matter how messy, is unparalleled and worth fighting for.
Okay, she's talking. This is just like fucking. This is Kamala Harris course. She's talking in fucking vague platitudes. Like, dude. Okay, the middle class thing, I will concede, but like, if you're trying to talk to normal people, like, discuss policy. Policy wins. People, working class people, are in agreement that the healthcare system needs reformation. The majority of people are in favor of Medicare for all. The majority of people are in favor of raising the minimum wage. Those are tangible policy goals that you could discuss that would reinvigorate the working class in the United States and bring them back to the Democrats. People want change because the Democrats have abandoned them. They are, much like the Republicans, beholden to big moneyed interest like billionaires and corporations. People vote for change, and they vote for the far-right lunatic who is promising to do something, as opposed to the centrist Democrat who thinks that everything is okay and wants to maintain the status quo.
Let's start with the economy. Michigan literally invented the middle class, the revolutionary idea that you could work at an auto plant and afford the car you were building. That's the American dream. And in order to expand and protect the middle class, we have to do a few basic things. We need to bring down the price of things we spend the most money on: groceries, housing, healthcare. We need to make more things in America with good paying.
Okay. Say it with me now. You need to tell people how you are going to do this. No fucking shit. You have to bring the price of things down. How do you bring down the cost of healthcare? Very simple. You institute a single-payer healthcare system. The United States, per capita, spends twice as much on average as every other developed country in the world. And we have, consistently, across the board, the worst healthcare outcomes among OECD nations. Whether that be life expectancy, for example, like life expectancy is starting to decrease for various reasons. COVID played a role, but the mental health crisis and the opioid crisis are factoring into that as well when it comes to overdoses and suicides. And then if you want to bring down the cost of regular goods, windfall profits tax, you could, for example, have the government come in and own grocery stores in food deserts, so that way they can sell groceries to lower income people and not extort them. They can sell it back to them at virtually wholesale because the government doesn't need to turn a massive profit. Same thing with the oil and gas sector. If the government nationalized the energy, if the government nationalized energy production, gas wouldn't be hyperinflated, and it wouldn't be the pricing wouldn't be at the whims of not only OPEC, but at the whims of the corporations that own all of these gas stations.
Union jobs and bring our supply chains back home from places like China. We need to give American business.
Repeal NAFTA then. Like, you're talking about all of the ills of capitalism, but have no interest in actually tackling the root cause. NAFTA was a fucking disaster. That is how you onshore more jobs back into the United States. You invest in that infrastructure like Joe Biden did with the CHIPS Act. You need responses to these statements. You need a well-defined policy plan, and you need to properly communicate that.
Businesses the certainty they need to invest and create the jobs of the future. And we need a tax system that's fair for people who don't happen to make $1 billion. Look, the president talked a big game on the economy, but it's always important to...
Like, okay, fucking discuss your progressive tax system. Do you want to bring back a 90% top marginal tax rate on every dollar made above 3 million? Are you interested in implementing a wealth tax? Like, communicate to the American people what the fuck you want to do, because Democrats have been saying shit like this for the fucking last year, and Kamala Harris lost because of it, in conjunction with her unwillingness to distance herself from Joe Biden on the issue of the genocide in Gaza. But there's like no fucking plan. And what's really frustrating is that at the beginning of her campaign, Kamala Harris did have an actual economic agenda, and she slowly drifted away from it and became a fortune cookie ass politician, talking in these fucking vague platitudes about just about bullshit, while people are literally struggling to pay rent, to pay groceries. They're putting insulin on their fucking credit cards.
Read the fine print. So, do his plans actually help Americans get ahead? Not even close. President Trump is trying to deliver an unprecedented giveaway to his billionaire friends. He's on the hunt to find trillions of dollars to pass along to the wealthiest in America. And to do that, he's going to make you pay in every part of your life. Grocery and home prices are going up, not down, and he hasn't laid out a credible plan to deal with either of those. His tariffs on allies like Canada will raise prices on energy, lumber, and cars, and start a trade war that will hurt manufacturing and farmers. Your premiums and prescriptions will cost more because the math on his proposals doesn't work without going after your health care. Meanwhile, for those keeping score, the national debt is going up, not down. And if he's not careful, he could walk us right into a recession.
Republicans always inflate the
And one
debt.
more thing. In order to pay for his plan, he could very well come after your retirement. The Social Security, Medicare, and VA benefits you worked your whole life to earn. The president claims he won't, but Elon Musk just called Social Security.
My computer's freaking the fuck out. We do have stories on this. I have an upcoming story on the VA getting ready to cut their workforce by 80,000 people. But also the Social Security Administration is bracing to have 7,000 workers fired as well. She didn't mention the Medicaid cuts or she didn't explicitly mention the Medicaid cuts. $880 billion worth of cuts to Medicaid. Democrats talk about it. Bernie Sanders talked about it. Talk about it. Mention that number relentlessly. Like, you have to be fucking annoying. Like, Democrats are already annoying, but at least be annoying with actual figures and data, so that way people can compartmentalize how badly they're getting fucked.
The biggest Ponzi scheme of all time. While we're on the subject of Elon Musk, is there anyone in America who is comfortable with him and his gang of 20-year-olds using their own computer servers to poke through your tax returns, your health information, and your bank accounts? No oversight, no protections against cyber attack, no guardrails on what they do with your private data. We need a more efficient government. You want to cut waste? I'll help you do it. But change doesn't need to be chaotic or make us less safe. The mindless firing of people who work to protect our nuclear weapons, keep our planes from crashing, and conduct the research that finds the cure for cancer,
oh my God,
only to rehire them 2 days later. No CEO in America could do that without being summarily fired.
Okay. Democrats, stop fucking conceding this point that you want a more efficient government unless you are going to talk about expanding the governmental workforce. Yeah, dude, I too would like an efficient government in the sense that the FDA doesn't have a backlog of 2,000 fucking factories that they have to inspect. Do you know how you get rid of that backlog? You hire more inspectors. Yeah, I would like a more efficient government in the sense that planes don't fucking fall out of the sky. Do you know how you do that? You hire the 3,000 FAA agents that are needed to properly run the agency. Government needs to be larger. There are 335 million people that live in the United States of America, and the governmental workforce hasn't been expanded in like 30 fucking years, right? Bill Clinton, Ronald Reagan did tremendous damage in the restriction of the hiring of government employees, and the administrative state has not fucking rebounded.
Okay, so we've talked about economic security. How about national security? Let's start with the border. As someone who spent my whole career protecting our homeland, every country deserves to know who and what is coming across its border. Period. Democrats and Republicans should all be for that. But securing the border without actually fixing our broken immigration system is dealing with the symptom and not the disease. America is a nation of immigrants. We need a functional system keyed to the needs of our economy that allows vetted people to come and work here legally. So I look forward to the president's plan on that.
Yeah. Oh my God. They're like so fucking close to understanding that all of these agencies need to be expanded if you want them to function properly. If you want immigrants to be vetted as they're coming into the country, you need to increase the amount of caseworkers and the amount of judges that can get these people TPS as rapidly as possible. Joe Biden, for as demonic as he is on immigration, at least had an app that allowed immigrants to schedule appointments. Oh, and guess what? Donald Trump fucking got rid of that. That was like literally one of the first things he did.
The thing, today's world is deeply interconnected. Migration, cyber threats, AI, environmental destruction, terrorism. One nation cannot face these issues alone. We need friends in all corners, and our safety depends on it. President Trump loves to say peace through strength. That's actually a line he stole from Ronald Reagan. But let me tell you, after the spectacle that just took place in the Oval Office last week, Reagan must be rolling in his grave.
Oh my God.
We all want an end to the war in Ukraine.
Just fuck Ronald Reagan, all right? Fuck him. If you ever find yourself praising Ronald Reagan as a Democrat or as someone on the left side of the political spectrum, you need to do a little introspection.
But Reagan understood that true strength required America to combine our military and economic might with moral clarity.
Oh my, dude. Moral clarity. Ronald Reagan, who made a deal for Iran not to release the hostages until he became president because he wanted to beat Jimmy Carter. Moral clarity, funding the Contras, moral clarity, funding Osama bin Laden and the Mujahideen, moral clarity, and Ronald Reagan in the same sentence?
That scene in the Oval Office wasn't just a bad episode of reality TV. It summed up Trump's whole approach to the world. He believes in cozying up to dictators like Vladimir Putin and kicking our friends like the Canadians in the teeth. He sees American leadership as merely a series of real estate transactions.
I mean, she's right on that.
As a Cold War kid, I'm thankful it was Reagan and not Trump in office in the 1980s. Trump would have lost us the Cold War.
Fucking God.
Donald Trump's actions suggest that in his heart, he doesn't believe we're an exceptional nation. He clearly doesn't think we should lead the world. Look, America is not perfect, but I stand with the majority of Americans who believe we are still exceptional, unparalleled. And I would rather have American leadership over Chinese or Russian leadership any day of the week. Because for generations, America has offered...
What about, like, Norwegian leadership? A government that actually tries to do good by their population. A government that allows workers to join a union. That has things like free childcare and a robust education system. Like, why do they never talk about countries that are doing like objectively good things? It's always like the US, Russia, and China. I mean, I understand that those are like the three prominent geopolitical powers, but you don't think that the United States has the capacity to implement like a fucking SOCDEM style of governance? I mean, we already have various aspects of that, like the VA. Like, just, we have more money than any other country has ever had, ever.
Something better. Our security and our prosperity, yes, but our democracy, our very system of government, has been the aspiration of the world. And right now, it's at risk. It's at risk when the president decides you can pick and choose what rules you want to follow, when he ignores court orders and the Constitution itself, or when elected leaders stand by and just let it happen. But it's also at risk when the president pits Americans against each other, when he demonizes those who are different and tells certain people they shouldn't be included. Because America is not just a patch of land between two oceans. We are more than that. Generations have fought and died to secure the fundamental rights that define us. Those rights and the fight for them make us who we are. We're a nation of strivers, risk takers, innovators, and we are never satisfied. That is America's superpower. And look, I've lived and worked in many countries. I've seen democracies flicker out. I've seen what life is like when a government is rigged. You can't open a business without paying off a corrupt official. You can't criticize the guys in charge without getting a knock at the door in the middle of the night. So as much as we need to make our government more responsive to our lives today, don't for one moment fool yourself that democracy isn't precious and worth saving. But how do we actually do that? I know a lot of you have been asking that question. First, don't tune out. It's easy to be exhausted, but America needs you now more than ever. If previous generations had not fought for this democracy, where would we be today? Second, hold your elected officials, including me, accountable. Watch how they're voting. Go to town halls and demand they take action. That's as American as apple pie. Third, organize. Pick just one issue you're passionate about and engage. And doom scrolling doesn't count. Join a group that cares about your issue and act. And if you can't find one, start one. Some of the most important movements in our history have come from the bottle up. In closing, we all know that our country is going through something right now. We're not sure what the next day is going to hold, let alone the next decade. But this isn't the first time we've experienced significant and tumultuous change as a country. I'm a student of history, and we've gone through periods of political instability before. And ultimately, we've chosen to keep changing this country for the better. But every single time, we've only gotten through those moments because of two things: engaged citizens and principled leaders. Engaged citizens who do a little bit more than they're used to doing to fight for the things that they care about, and principled leaders who are ready to receive the ball and do something about it. So thank you tonight for caring about your country. Just by watching, you qualify as engaged citizens. And I promise that I and my fellow Democrats will do everything in our power to be the principled leaders that you deserve. Good night, everyone.
Just a bunch of fucking nothing. A big fat nothing burger. This is like coming home for dinner and your spouse made you holographic meatloaf. Spent like 30 seconds on kitchen table issues, on things that people actually care about and things that actually impact people's lives. Newsflash: no one gives a fuck about saving democracy when democracy hasn't done anything for them. The majority of people feel alienated by the government because the government for the last 40 fucking years has served to not do anything except enrich the 1% and corporations. People care about the cost of living. People want the healthcare system to be changed. People want free childcare. These are issues that matter to the general population. I understand Donald Trump is a threat to democracy, but I don't think that should be the key part of your messaging because it doesn't register. It doesn't resonate. Talk about reducing the cost of living. Don't go into like the border stuff or, immigration being an issue. If you are going to talk about that, be sure to mention how that issue is entirely overblown by Republicans, how 99% of immigrants, probably even more than that, are law-abiding citizens, how immigrants pay into Social Security, or undocumented immigrants pay into Social Security, but actually don't receive benefits, or they pay into Medicaid and on average receive the same in benefits as their naturalized and documented counterparts. It's just absolutely atrocious messaging from the Democratic Party. They are not doing anything to win in the midterms, which is a damn shame because the platform that Republicans are giving them, it's a fast break layup, dude. It's an uncontested dunk, and they are fumbling. If the Democrats are able to gain control in the midterms, it will entirely be the result of people in these districts understanding that, oh, holy fuck, the Republicans are a fucking disaster. And I just hope that there are candidates in these districts who understand the value of being able to relate to working class people. I hope there are more Andy Bashirs in middle America, in rural America, who understand that trans people and immigrants are not the problem. How the problem is Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and all of these other rich assholes that are robbing you blind.